Hello and welcome back to another Sims 3 build video. I'm Billy, and if you enjoy watching people build in The Sims, feel free to stick around and subscribe if you want to. This is the second build I'm recording. It's called Settler's Cottage and is of course based off of a settler's cottage. I really love these kinds of houses. They're late 1800s builds, and some of them have been really maintained quite well where I live, and I always adore them even though they're quite limited on space. For the Sims build itself, it's built on a 20 by 20 lot. This is going to be a 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom build, with one of the bedrooms being the sleep out the back. But yeah, let's get into it. So I'm currently just working on the general structure of the house, getting kind of some of the landscaping down, figuring out where the yard is, where the backyard is, a very private backyard as you can see, and kind of figuring out how I'm going to do the front porch and adding in doors and windows, my favorite. I have been a little bit naughty with this build compared to the last one. There is a lot more expansion pack and custom content in it, as well as a little bit of store content, but don't worry, it will all be linked in the description down below. So here, still just working on the windows, and this build does contain a fireplace. Unfortunately, it's not quite as well budgeted as my first build, the Cerulean Starter. Feel free to go watch that if you haven't already, but this is definitely a more interesting build structurally, so I hope you enjoy it despite maybe being a little bit more expensive. It's not quite a starter house. It will be good for probably 1 or 2 Sims. You could add in some more, but especially once I get through to furnishing, the way I've laid it out, it's not really appropriate for more than 2 Sims. But you can move things around once you download the lot if you want to fit in more people or want a bed that's functional on both sides. Now I'm getting into placing the flooring. It's got pretty old style wooden floors. A lot of these houses in real life do have the original wooden floors, so they're quite a dark stain, which is not something I would personally often do in builds where I'm doing it myself. I'd normally go for, you know, a less red stain, but we're building this based off a real house, so it is what it is. And now we're recoloring the windows and doors, something you will see me redo over and over throughout this build video. I ended up happy with it in the end, but I was definitely trying to match the way the actual house does it, which means one side being a different color to the other and kind of trying to color match the wood. Because again, a lot of these older houses do have those really red toned wood stains, which I think works really well, but I'm a perfectionist and want to match it as perfectly as I can. So now just filling out the front porch. It's a kind of very dark wood, almost bluish in colour, so I tried to replicate this on the build, and now just doing the siding. This time I didn't have to get super creative with the colours. I could pretty much just use default on the main house, which was nice. Now I'm getting into the internal walls. It's got some interesting combinations and I quite like it. It is very modern in terms of the walls and the tiles, so it's actually a really interesting house and a really interesting build. As you'll see, I'm getting into the masonry again. But trying to figure out kind of the perfect marble pattern and colour so it's not really too much. And what you're going to see in this house is a lot of bright and interesting colours. Also something I wouldn't normally do if I wasn't basing it off a real build. And sorry if anyone hates blue again, because you're gonna see a lot of blue in that kitchen. A lot of turquoise. Kind of a throwback to the previous build in a way, I guess. Now I'm just building up the roof. It's fairly boring. I think I did something a little bit more interesting with the roof in the last build, but this is what the actual one is like. And don't think too much about that little weird like closet thing next to the sleep out. It is a shed in real life, but I wanted to not just have one little random spot there, so I did extend it out. You can probably use it to get to a basement or whatever else you feel like, but I didn't really have any ideas of anything in particular to do with it during the build. And as I said before, recoloring the windows again, yay! And recoloring the door, of course, to make it more faithful to the real life version, because I did like the look of it, so I tried to keep it as faithful as possible, with all the furnishing being fairly different to the real house. Now getting into the kitchen, where I did use some custom content. These are the Harbinger Sims 4 conversion counters from across The Sims 3, and I also used some tiny house shelves from across The Sims 3. All will be linked in the description below. And now you'll see I'm going to pattern match the heck out of everything, and am now recoloring everything because I realized that I liked the reddish tones on the shelves quite a lot and wanted to bring that in everywhere else because I thought it was a better match than what I'd done. It is a very large size kitchen, but not really any internal dining space, so your Sims might have to go sit out in the rain, but I'm sure if you want any indoor dining space you can find room for it. There is plenty of space. Now getting into the bathroom, the blue does indeed carry over into there, not too much though. Mainly just those counters. The trouble of recoloring the shower. I'm okay with how it turned out. It's not my favorite coloring. I do quite enjoy doing that white plastic look that is common in a lot of actual showers, and I found it looks quite clean in The Sims 3. It just turns out really well, but I couldn't really do it for this one. And now trying to figure out the best way to arrange the furniture in the sleep out. I did use the very dangerous Murphy beds from University Life. In real life there is a sleep out couch in this house, at least when I saw the listing for it, and I kind of wanted to replicate that. You could just turn it into a general office space or a band space, whatever you want. And now I'm building out the bedroom. Use some more custom content from Art Vitalix there. Again, all linked in the description. And here's where you'll notice the beds that are only functional on one side. I do playtest these houses, so I am aware that you cannot fit in on that side closest to the wall, but honestly you can just delete the side table if you want and move that bed over. I just wanted it this way for stylistic reasons. Now getting into furnishing the lounge, and I have used custom content again for the desk. This desk is too kind of rustic and too cute to kind of give up. And I really struggled finding a coffee table to fit here that I thought looked good. I didn't really want to put something in the middle right in front of the fireplace because I felt like that would have eaten up too much space. And here's where you'll see me get into some custom content flowers that I will use in most every build. They're really great ones, so if you downloaded them after this build, you probably will be pretty safe in future ones as well, because they will probably be in there. Now I'm getting into furnishing the backyard. I will admit you're gonna see me struggle trying to find plants to fit in behind those walls without clipping through too much, because it is kind of a pet peeve of mine to see massive clipping of plants. So I tried my hardest. And here's the one piece of store content as well, the wonderfully woven hanging chair from Bohemian Garden. It is an item that I love so much, but I do try to resist using it, but I thought it looked really nice here. Getting some more decorating done. Some lights. Now we're gonna get into terrain paint. Woo! You'll see I typically use the same path pattern in my houses. I like the cobblestone. And here we go, actually putting down plants in the back. You'll see me go through a lot of options before settling on these kind of palm tree type things. In real life, a lot of houses where I live have a lot of flax and a lot of ferns, but there's not necessarily great representations of that in The Sims 3 without me getting into more custom content. So some of these builds, depending, you might see a lot of the same things over and over trying to replicate that, or you might see me struggling to find stuff to put in there that will fit. And a couple more custom content plants going in there. They're also a pretty safe bet for being in future builds as well. Trying to landscape the front yard now. This one was especially hard because the real house had something I really wanted to replicate, which was it has a lot of kind of flax and ferns and bush at the front, which, you know, kind of helps with a lot of the privacy as well, and it looks really stunning. But it's kind of difficult to do in The Sims, and I didn't want to be using some other plants that I didn't feel looked as good there, so I kind of settled on what I got. And I'm actually happy with how it turned out, but it's not necessarily the most faithful. Now getting into some patterns in the living room. My favorite, everything's kept pretty plain and pretty simple. Again, putting that same wood pattern on everything to kind of keep it looking like a lot of the original furniture that would have been in that house. A lot of furniture used very similar staining on the woods. It's not something I see around as much now, but I definitely wanted to keep it faithful to that style of the time. So here I originally decided to go fairly boring in the bedroom since the walls were so bright. But you'll see after I do the sleep out that I decided I didn't like that plan and that I really needed the bedroom to look a little bit more interesting. I felt like with just the plain white pattern and then making the sleep out look a bit more interesting made the bedroom inside the house, which should be the master bedroom, feel like a guest bedroom. So I just settled on a cute little floral pattern, made it yellow, and that was kind of that. Now just matching all the wood in the backyard. And now curtains. I really desperately wanted to make the blinds work there. I wanted shutters on the windows because I thought it would have looked really great, but it just was not working out. But you will see the rolling blinds from Ambitions here again, same as in the last build. Also, I didn't use a custom roof pattern this time. Yay! Now just adding some wall art. This was actually something I forgot to do and then added in right at the end. And we've got some more Juliet Sims wall art in here again. Same as the last build, but again I'll have that linked down below. It is some of my favorites, so you're gonna see it a lot. But that's it, so going into screenshots. Thanks for watching.